Hello everybody, it's Silvana and welcome back to the channel. For once in this NAM, I am done before 10 o'clock at night. It is only 5 p.m. I didn't start writing until somewhere between 12 and 1 this afternoon, and I took a break for lunch, but we have hit the numbers for the day. Unfortunately, I did switch back to using the laptop instead of the big computer, so the project statistics are not showing that, unfortunately. But we are going to get our word count and put it into the NAN site, so let's do that. 32,702 for total amount written, so 32,702 minus 13K to start with gives us a total of 19,702 for the project. So 19,702. We can go ahead and close this. We can go over here to NaN and add by total words. And again, our number is 19,702. So let's pop that in there. 19,702. The words were very well today. As a continuation of yesterday, we will talk about that in just a second, but I felt the words went well. I was writing on the laptop today. I started at, since I had lunch, we'll float that forward. I started at 1. I ended at 5. That works for me. So we'll go ahead and update. Alright, so overall, we're doing well for the day. Finally got the When Do You Write to update. That's nice. Our days are nice. This one's still that low pop, but we've been over 2K pretty consistently, or right at it, pretty consistently to make up for that. We are well over, well over, as this above shows. We're well over. So, you write at home. Yeah, that's true. You'll be done by the 23rd. Questionable. On average, right about 2189. Not quite 22, but that's cool. Average writing speed is 8 words a minute. Sure. I doubt it, but sure. That sounds fine. So that looks okay to me. So I want to talk a little bit, and I closed Scrivener without thinking about it, so let me reopen Scrivener. I want to talk a little bit about what happened and what's happened for that. It'll make sense in a second. So anyway, as I believe I may have said yesterday, I don't know, all my days kind of run together. I was writing the beginning of chapter 7 when what I thought was going to be a scene in chapter 9 popped to me, and it popped really nice right as I was getting up yesterday. So I started writing that. Well, it's going with how the outline is for what chapter 9 should be anyway. It ended up being the entirety of chapter 9 that popped for me. Now, I've not had that particular experience happen before, so it was definitely something new. I'm not surprised with what's going on in that chapter and what popped for me, that it did end up being the entire chapter, plus what that chapter is supposed to be in the outline. It makes sense for that to be that chapter, and it needs to take some time to unfold, and thus it took a chapter, but it's working quite well. I am, and for the first time ever, you guys are going to catch some words in my document as I go through chapters to talk about a little bit of stuff. I am having problems, real big problems, with 7 and 8. Well, I can't say with 8 really, because I haven't got to 8. So what I did back when I started this project, and if I've talked about this before or you've heard this before, I'm sorry about the reiteration. I do sometimes forget about what I have talked about, and since it's been a while since I've talked about the project in this way, I'm thinking maybe you guys might have forgot as well. Plus, there's always the new viewer to think of. So, as a YouTuber that vlogs their writing, I do tend to repeat myself a little bit, and I'm real sorry about that if it's annoying. So, when I started this project in September, I wrote the beginning of chapter 1. Then I had a moment in chapter 8 pop out for me. So I wrote that. And then I had 2 moments in the last chapters here. So this would be 25 and 26. If this chapter count stays this way. And they are brief scenes, just a few paragraphs of stuff happening in those chapters. But they're real major plotty, hitty, emotional points that hit. And other than those, I've been kind of working, I went back up to chapter 1, and I wrote chapter 1, 2, 3, part of 4. I wrote 1, well, what at the time was chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and part of chapter 4. Then, about midway through September, because I had done so much in a row, I burnt out. I took the rest of September and all of October off from writing. The last week of October, to be a little bit of a part of Preptober, I did go back in. I used the outlining technique. I do still intend to make a video about that outlining technique at some point this month. I hope this month. But with NaNoWriMo, that might not happen. We'll just have to see. But I used the outlining. I've never outlined a book before. Project Ghost was completely a pantsed novel. And it's a really cool but kind of brief outline. So it's not super detailed, which I like because it gives the story, because I am more of a pants writer than a plotter, it gives the story a chance to breathe and grow and change in certain ways. And even since I've done the outline, not like huge changes, but there have been, a little, I should do up in here, a little push here and a little switch there, and maybe this doesn't happen in this chapter, but that chapter, a little bit of movement in what's going on where. That's why I like the outline that I used. It's perfect for that, for me. If you're the kind of person that really, really likes that in-depth, to the nth detail type of outlining, I'm sure you might be able to use this technique that way. I don't know. I didn't. I'm not that kind of an outliner. You'd have to judge for yourself. So I did the outline and I did the edit, which left me a little bit of chapter 1 to finish. It was like a paragraph. Chapter 2 was completely done. I had to make a completely new chapter 3 because what had been chapter 3 was now no longer going to work. A little bit of chapter a little bit of what had been chapter 3 ended up becoming chapter 4 because it was coming too early in the story, which is why it wouldn't work. And then what was chapter 4 a little bit remained to be part of chapter 5. I'm sorry about that. I am still just a little sick, not too bad though. So when Nano started on the 1st, I started with chapter 1. Of course, I finished that out. I only had a paragraph left, and I like getting stuff done. It makes you feel accomplished even if you really haven't done much. So, I finished chapter 1 right away so that I had chapter 1 and chapter 2 done. I went directly into chapter 3, and I've been working in order since then until yesterday. Now, yesterday, I should have been writing in 6. No, that'd be 7, sorry. Chapter 7. I should have been writing in chapter 7. I did start a little bit of chapter 7, but that pop happened right as I was starting to work, and I went for it. I chased it because it'd been a little bit since I had that kind of, ooh, this would be perfect moment with this novel. And I love those moments, and it's why I use Scrivener. I will jump to those moments because they flow easily. So I started what had popped for me. I couldn't quite finish the whole thing that had popped yesterday. It got late. I got tired. I just ran out of energy and I didn't want to push. So I quit for the day. We updated the count and that was how it was. So I knew when I got up today that the first thing I would do would be finish chapter 9. I didn't want to lose that last bit of the story, which, since I hadn't written down the beats of it anywhere or anything like that, was held completely in my memory from when it popped. And the other issue is because I am having serious problems with chapter 7. I'm hoping, I know a lot of people, they have issues like in here in the mid of Act 2, and I'm not there yet, and I've only written Ghost, but I didn't have any problems mid-Act 2, and I definitely know, this would be the last third. The downward, the third act, I won't have any issues. I know everything here. And I have been tempted to just skip, because I'm having such a hard time with it, to skip this and like maybe go on to chapter 8 or go down to the stuff in Act 3 that I know. My issue with doing that is if I jump this far ahead, because these two scenes, they happen in a specific location and there's not any kind of telltale, like, okay, it happens inside a house, in a bedroom, during the day. That's it. That's all you have for description for what's going on in these two moments. And they're two different areas. So how, is it spring? Is it summer? Is it winter? Is it fall? Who knows? What month is it? No one knows. There's no calling cards. There didn't need to be in the description of the little bit of scenes that popped here. I can't keep that as well. Those scenes can stay that way, but time markers will have to come in there because that's how a book works. How much time it's been is part of the thing. And I don't know yet exactly from here to here to here, I don't know how much time is going to pass there. I have an idea how much time all told the 27 chapters will cover, but it might end up being a little less time than that. It might end up being more time than that. And that's why I don't jump to the last 9 chapters where I know better what's going to be happening, is because I'll have to put some kind of calling card for how long it's been and stuff like what season it is, stuff like that. And I don't want to do that and then have to go back and fix it. I am trying to write this in order to varying degrees of success. So the other thing I wanted to talk about weirdly, and I think I kind of touched on this a little bit, is my chapter length. Now, this was not done purposely, but each one of my chapters, if you look down here, it says how many words. This is about a little over 41 and a half. This is 45 and a half. This is 43 and a half. That's 43, almost 44. That's 42. That's 42 and a half. So a lot of those are like very close to each other in length. They're they're not exactly the same length, but they're very close to each other in the same length. And I am sort of hopeful that at some point some of these chapters may be shorter. But I didn't get that here. Here it is, chapter 9, and it's 4,200 words. And I didn't make it be that long to match everything else. I just wrote what needed to be said for that chapter to be done. And it ended up being that long. So, in that way, here we are, chapter 7, and there's only 664 words. If, on average, they stay the same, I still have almost, well, let's see, 600. We'll say it's about 42. So, on average. So you just bounce that back to about 3,600 words yet to go. So many words. And it's not like I don't know what's going to happen in this chapter. It's just that I don't know if there's 3,600 words worth of what's going to happen to this in this chapter. And I am considering maybe combining chapters 7 and 8 together, because again, I don't feel that there's, or maybe they'll just be shorter chapters. That happens in books. That I don't know what I'm doing. So I guess that's my question of the day. If this was you and this was your novel, would you just go ahead and go for what might be only a 2,500 word chapter for a chapter or two and have some shorter chapters? Or do you stick with that chapter length as a guide and maybe combine what was originally 2 chapters into 1 chapter? It would make the book less chapters overall, but that's fine with me. I don't care how many chapters there are in the book. I just made a chapter per outline box, and the outlining method had 27 boxes, 9 for each act. So that's what I did. So right now it looks like 27, but it certainly could be less than that. So real quick, right before we go, other than your question, I wanted of the day. I wanted to take a look because we haven't. I don't think we have the entire for if ever for a while on this project. I want to look at the stats. We know we're at 32,000. That's awesome, all told. Right now, if it was a printed paperback novel, it's 94 pages. That's freaking awesome. That is really awesome. That makes me incredibly, incredibly happy and proud to have done that much work. And I think this is where my hump is going to be. I think I talked about with Project Ghost, not during the writing process of it, but when I went back and edited, I noticed that I needed my main characters. I had skipped some time with them, and one of the time periods I had skipped with them was the 4th of July, and the writing of that day, of that day, while I knew exactly excuse me again, I got the hiccup, sorry about that. Emotionally speaking, what I wanted to happen for their emotional arc for the day, and I knew, well, they're going to go and do this, and they're going to do this, and then they're going to do that, because it's the 4th of July, obviously, and they're kids. The day's going to end with them watching fireworks, because that's what most kids do on the 4th of July. So it wasn't like I didn't know what I wanted to do, but man, writing that took what felt like forever. And I think, and I'd have to look at the manuscript to see for certain, but if it's at the same spot outline-wise of the book, but I'm having just the worst time with chapter 7. So, as always, guys, like, comment, subscribe, and do all the do's below. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching and interacting when you do. I really appreciate you all so much, and I hope that you have a really great day. We'll see you tomorrow, day 10.